$50,000. That's the number every truck ad wants you to picture as the responsible choice. Not the loaded model with the leather seats and the panoramic sunroof, just the honest, hard-working trim. And here's the part nobody says out loud. That number isn't the ceiling anymore. It's the floor. The average new pickup truck in America right now sells for closer to $66,000. The top trims, the ones all over your feed, push past $110,000. So when we say $50,000, we are already talking about the cheapest rung on a very expensive ladder. Now compare that to what the average household actually brings home. Median household income in this country sits around $84,000 a year before taxes. Do the division, and you'll see we are asking a normal family to spend something like 60% of their entire yearly income pre-tax on a single vehicle, a vehicle that will lose almost half its value in 5 years. Let that sit for a second. We are financing a depreciating asset at the price of a small house down payment and calling it responsible. Here's the sentence I want you to remember from this video. The truck didn't get more expensive. The definition of normal got redefined without anyone voting on it. And once that redefinition happens quietly, in showrooms, in commercials, in financing offices, it starts showing up in a very specific number. Not the sticker price, the monthly payment. Because the monthly payment is where the real trick lives, and that's exactly where we're going next. Walk into a dealership today, and the salesman is not going to ask what you can afford. He's going to ask what monthly payment feels comfortable. That question sounds harmless, but it is doing a lot of quiet work. It shifts your attention away from the total cost of the truck and toward a smaller, softer number that feels manageable no matter how big the loan actually is. And the way you make any number feel smaller is simple. You stretch it out. The average new auto loan in this country now runs almost 69 months. That's 5.5 years. For trucks specifically, nearly 30% of loans stretch even further, out to 73 or even 84 months, 7 full years of payments on a vehicle that starts losing value the moment it leaves the lot. Let's actually run the math on our $50,000 truck. 0 down, because most people don't have $10,000 sitting around. A 7% interest rate, which is roughly the going average, stretched over 84 months to keep the payment feeling small. That comes out to $755 a month. Sounds fine. Sounds doable. Under $800 a month, most people can picture that in their budget. Here's the twist. Over those 7 years, you don't pay $50,000 for that truck. You pay just over $63,000, $13,000 in pure interest, money that bought you nothing except permission to spread the payments out. And by the end of year 1 alone, the truck is worth around $40,000, while you still owe close to $45,700. You are underwater by roughly $5,700 on a vehicle you've owned exactly 12 months. Zoom out, and this isn't a rare story. In the last quarter of 2025, just over 20% of new vehicle buyers in America were paying $1,000 or more for their car. 1 in 5. That is not a car payment anymore. That is a second rent check, just to get to work and back. The bank does not care about your transmission, your overtime, or your bad month. The bank only cares that the $755 shows up every month for the next 7 years. Meet Daniel, 34 years old, works logistics dispatch for a regional shipping company, brings home about $55,000 a year after taxes. His wife Priya teaches 3rd grade. Combined, they clear about $5,600 a month. Last year, Daniel bought the $50,000 truck. 0 down, 84-month loan, $755 a month. The salesman told him he was approved, and Daniel figured approved meant affordable. Here's his actual Tuesday. He drives the truck 38 miles each way to a warehouse, alone, bed empty, because dispatch work doesn't require hauling anything. Priya drives their 11-year-old Civic to school with a check engine light that flickers whenever it rains. Rent is $1,800. Daycare for their younger kid is $1,100. Groceries, utilities, insurance on both cars, gas for 2 commutes. By the time the truck payment plus its insurance and fuel come out, roughly $1,400 total, they are left with almost nothing before a single unplanned expense hits. When the Civic's transmission eventually gives out, and it will, that repair goes straight onto a credit card because there was never room to build an emergency fund in the first place. Now, the obvious pushback, but some people genuinely need a truck for work. Fair, and if that's you, this isn't really aimed at you. But look at the actual usage data. Multiple large surveys of truck owners, some covering over 250,000 people, found that roughly 75% tow their truck once a year or less. Nearly 70% go off-road once a year or less. About 90% never use the truck for anything resembling actual work. Most owners use it the same way Daniel does: commuting, errands, groceries. A tall, expensive, thirsty version of a sedan. Daniel isn't foolish, and he isn't a victim. He did what the ad, the commercial, and the salesman told a responsible adult does. Nobody sat him down and showed him this math before he signed. That's the actual problem here, not Daniel. Now, here's the number that actually matters. Instead of the $50,000 truck, imagine Daniel bought a reliable 5-year-old sedan for around $20,000. All in, loan, insurance, gas, maintenance, that car costs about $700 a month. Compare that to the roughly $1,400 a month the truck actually costs once you include fuel and insurance, not just the loan. That's a $700 difference every single month. Take that $700 and instead of spending it, invest it in a plain index fund tracking the broader stock market, which has historically returned around 8% a year over long stretches. Over long stretches. Do that consistently for 30 years and you end up with approximately $1 million. Not from a windfall, not from a lucky stock pick, just from the gap between 2 vehicles invested instead of financed. That is the real price tag of the truck, not $50,000, not even the $63,000 in interest over 7 years. The real cost is the $1 million retirement that never gets built because the money went somewhere else first. And notice who actually profits when Daniel signs that loan. The dealership makes its margin, the bank collects the interest, the insurance company collects the premium, the gas station gets the fill-ups. Everyone in that chain gets paid. The only person who loses money on the deal is Daniel. So if you're sitting down to buy a vehicle this year, do one thing before you sign anything. Add up the real total, the loan, the insurance, the fuel, the maintenance, the tires, and compare that number to your actual take-home pay, not the number the salesman suggests feels comfortable. If you genuinely tow, haul, or need 4-wheel drive to get to work, buy the truck with clear eyes and don't feel guilty about it. But if you don't, understand this: the bravest financial decision you can make in 2026 isn't driving off the lot in something shiny. It's sitting in that showroom, looking at the chrome, and quietly choosing your future over your image.